The true identity of the Joker has always been one of the greatest mysteries in DC Comics, but it's been left unexplored because it would kind of ruin the character. For instance, the iconic Killing Joke proposes an origin story of a washed-up comedian who's unable to provide for his pregnant wife and turns to a life of crime as a result. But this was most likely not true, and frankly it doesn't even matter because the Joker doesn't remember his past, and if he did, he would rather it be multiple choice. But in 2015, Batman literally dethroned Metron, the god of knowledge, and sat in his Mobius chair, a seat that gave Bruce access to all of the knowledge and secrets of the universe. Naturally, Wayne was skeptical, so he asked the question, who killed Thomas and Martha Wayne? The answer, of course, is the common criminal Joe Chill, but then Batman went deeper, asking, what is the Joker's true name? And the answer shocked him to his core. At the end of the story, we learned that the chair said there's not just one Joker, but instead 3. And funnily enough, when DC finally gave us an explanation, there's not one, there's 3. So I guess that's 9 Jokers in total. How exactly does that work? Well, hello and welcome to Comic Drake, where I talk about comic books. My name is Drake. Let's talk about it. If you're interested in checking out the books that I talk about in this video, then the easiest way is through today's sponsor, Global Comics. They are straight up the best digital comic platform out there, and now that they have books from DC, it has gotten even better. Batman, Superman, and even my all-time favorite superhero, Booster Gold, are all on Global Comics, in addition to tens of thousands of other comics like big-name titles of Invincible, Scott Pilgrim, and The Walking Dead, and so much more. But the biggest thing that I love is that Global Comics puts the creators first, with your subscription dollars getting paid out to writers and artists based on what you are reading. Global Comics is affordable, easy to access, and convenient, and it delights me to no end that I can say again with 100% certainty that this is the best digital comics platform of all time, and it's continuing to get better every single day. I mean, heck, I didn't even mention their new and exclusive vertical scrolling versions of comics that are available for free with new episodes each week. So if you want to read the comics that I talk about in this video for yourself, along with the literally thousands of others, then click the link in the description and use my code GCXComicBookDrake to get 33% off your first yearly subscription. Once again, big thank you to Global Comics for sponsoring this video, but now, let's get back to it. The comic with the Mobius chair is Justice League Volume 2, written by Jeff Johns and illustrated by Jason Fabok in 2015, and a couple years later, that same duo announced a new book simply called Batman 3 Jokers. Fans were hyped that this mystery was finally going to be explored, and DC led into it by building up this comic as the next big thing, as it was going to be one of the first books under their new Black Label imprint, a line of comics that were meant for serious and mature audiences only. I mean, their very first book, Batman Damned, had full frontal bat nudity for crying out loud. But not just that, well, the Black Label, not the nudity, but DC was promising this was going to be the biggest and most important Joker story since The Killing Joke, and Johns and Fabok explained in interview after interview about how inspired they were and how they were trying to channel The Killing Joke into 3 Jokers. But funnily enough, despite literally being called 3 Jokers, the book itself doesn't really focus on them. Instead, it's about Batman, Batgirl, and Red Hood, and how they each handle pain and trauma and healing from it. Now, it is by no means a bad comic, and it has lots of great moments, like Bruce forgiving Joe Chill for murdering his parents and being there in his final moments as he succumbs to cancer. But it also had a lot of truly baffling decisions, like trying to push Jason and Barbara into a relationship. I hate everything about that. Evidently though, the end result is that Johns presented the 3 Jokers as representing the different eras of the character's publication history, each with their own convenient labels so you can try to keep track of them. The first is the Golden Age, aka the Criminal, and he doesn't laugh. Now, why so serious? Well, that's because the Joker wasn't always laughing and performing wacky hijinks when he first appeared back in the 40s. He was more of a menacing and calculating mastermind with more than his fair share of scowls. Now, granted, back in the day he did smile and laugh plenty, but in 3 Jokers, this guy doesn't laugh because it physically hurts him. But when the Comics Code authorities started cracking down on comic publishers in the Silver Age, the Joker became a much more comical character, which is represented here by the Clown. He's the one that wielded rubber chickens, chattering teeth, and those acid-spraying flowers. But after a substantial hiatus and a lightening of the CCA, the Clown returned in the Bronze Age as a darker and more sinister presence, being the Joker from The Killing Joke who shot Barbara Gordon and killed Jason in The Death of the Family. But the final Joker is the modern incarnation, the sadistic agent of chaos who just wants to watch the world burn. This is the one that sliced off his own face and wore it as a mask, the comedian. Although they've hidden the fact that there have apparently been 3 of them this entire time, the Jokers reveal the secret to the Bat family in an attempt to find the perfect candidate to transform into a better Joker, one that has more of a personal connection and meaning to Batman. At first, it's set up that Jason Todd is going to become this better Joker. I mean, it would be perfect since he literally took up the Joker's original identity of Red Hood when he came back to life. So if he then transitioned into the Joker, yeah, it's poetic. The clown even managed to get Todd to cross that line and violate the Bat family's no-kill policy by taunting Jason with his final words as he was bludgeoned to death with a crowbar.
Please stop! Please! If you let me live, I'll do anything you say! I'll be your Robin! Yeah! And look at you now, my little Red Hood! Shooting up people and making Batman's life miserable! You are my Robin!
But Jason was ultimately deemed not bright enough to become the next Joker, so the remaining 2 moved on to a better candidate, Joe Chill, which I guess would make him Joe Kerr. This certainly would give him meaning, and it's not unprecedented since Batman 89 already made the guy that killed the Waynes eventually become the Clown Prince of Crime. However, earlier in the book, Bruce had found a stack of unsent letters in Chill's jail cell, learning that he had truly become a changed man while in prison, and he wanted to apologize to Bruce for killing his parents. And then Batman saves Chill's life back to back at the end of the book, first from falling into the pit of Joker acid, and then from a wall that was collapsing in all of the intense chaos. The comedian kills the criminal and turns himself in, and revealed his master plan to Batman in the back of the police van. He had been pulling the strings to eliminate the other 2 Jokers and also made Chill into the candidate for the next Joker because he wanted Bruce to move on from him. Because by healing his greatest wound, the comedian could officially become the greatest pain in Bruce's life. And he also makes a note that he'll never tell who the original 3 Jokers actually was. Did he create me? Did I create him? I'll never tell. And this keeps the mystery of his origin alive for both Bruce and the readers, except he didn't, because we learned that Bruce has actually known the Joker's real name since the first week after their first encounter, but he's kept it a secret this entire time, so the world will leave the Joker's family alone since they're in witness protection. And on top of that, that family is pretty obviously the one from the Killing Joke's backstory, which goes against the entire point of that comic in the first place and its iconic monologue about having a multiple choice backstory. And on top of that, despite being the same creative team that introduced the 3 Jokers concept in Justice League, all of the stuff about the Mobius chair was never mentioned in this comic. So, is it even canon? Well, before it came out, Jeff Johns was adamant about it explicitly taking place in continuity.
I've never really told a story, Batman story. I've done Batman Earth 1, but that's a different, younger, kind of low-tech version of Batman in my head. And this was the first time I had the chance to write a real Batman story in continuity with the Joker. And there's so many amazing stories out there about the Joker.
But after its release, Jason Fabok said, quote,
"It's in continuity like Killing Joke is. You can take it or leave it. We're going to introduce some pretty gutsy stuff in Jokers that's never been done before. So the fans can react to it and they can decide if they want it part of the main continuity or not, like Killing Joke."
And therein lies the problem. The Killing Joke was originally meant to be a non-canon story, but fans loved it so much that DC went on ahead and made it canon. Conversely, fans universally did not like the 3 Jokers, mostly because it was trying so damn hard to be the next Killing Joke and missing the mark. So because of that reception, DC basically went, okay, fine, it's not canon. But then there's a new problem. That Mobius chair scene is canon. So now the 3 Jokers are back to being unanswered. Enter Chip Zdarsky. He took over the Batman comic in 2022, and in his very first issue, Bruce had a nightmare about the 3 Jokers, which reintroduced this concept to readers. Now look, I'm gonna be totally real, Chip is one of my all-time favorite comic writers, but this book is a weird and all over the place mess. So like, the Penguin faked his death to frame Batman for his murder, which activates a robot failsafe that was designed to take out Batman in the event that he ever crosses the line and intentionally kills someone. Now, very long story short, failsafe teleports Bruce to an alternate universe where he encounters a dude named Halliday, who is this universe's version of the Joker, but he never got transformed, so he still has all of his sanity. Now that being said, he does know about the main universe Joker because of multiverse gas, and is trying to become the Crown Prince of Crime, but instead of recreating the pool of chemicals, he builds a machine that runs on multiversal energy to connect to the main universe Joker Because comics. Now, this machine works and connects Halliday to the moment of Joker's creation, but he isn't able to properly connect, so he tries again, and the same issue occurs. But here's the thing. It turns out that every time that he connects to the Joker's origin with the machine, he's actually creating new Jokers. Halliday discovers that his purpose in life is literally to create Jokers, and in the scene of his origin, we see 3 of them in one panel, asking if Halliday is up to make a 4th. Now, one could argue that this panel is ambiguous and that there's not actually 3 of them, but rather the artist showcasing motion in a single panel. Plus, a later issue shows that the next part of the scene has the 3 Jokers attack and kill one another until only one remains, which is again ambiguous, as it could be the internal conflict within the Joker's mind as he begins his descent into madness. Now sure, I would totally believe that, but the issue ends with Halliday Naruto running into the machine and then pinballing across the multiverse, resurrecting dead Jokers in Batman 89 and the Arkham games and Batman Beyond and so much more. And in the event that he goes to a universe that doesn't have a Joker, well then surprise, there's one now. And you know what's wild? Just a few issues later, Chip revealed a completely unrelated origin for the 3 Jokers, and it's almost just as complicated as the last one to explain. In the iconic Flash of Two Worlds comic, DC segmented off their classic Golden Age comics into an alternate universe of Earth 2, and with it, a lot of the sillier moments in Batman's history were separated from the main continuity. But not every writer thought that that was a good idea. For better or for worse, those early Batman comics helped shape the Caped Crusader into the character that he is today, and to pretend like those wacky moments never happened plays a huge disservice to the history of this iconic character. At least that was the thought process behind the legendary Batman writer Grant Morrison, and in their iconic run, Morrison sought to integrate the classic elements of the Dark Knight's past, but recontextualize them for a modern audience. Notably for this video, back in the 50s, there was an alien from the planet Zur-Anar that was inspired by Bruce to become the Batman of his planet, with a garish red, yellow, and purple costume. Now, Morrison integrated this into modern Batman mythology by having Zur-Anar kind of be like a backup personality that Bruce can slip into in the event of psychic attacks. And in Zdarsky's run, Chip further expanded upon his lore and basically made Zur into the big bad of his entire run. Chip's book explains that Bruce learned the ability to create backup personalities during the time that he was training to become Batman, specifically from a mentor named Daniel Capito, who taught Wayne how to fully harness his brain and push his mind to the absolute limit so he can be the best both physically and mentally. However, Capito wanted to see what would happen if Bruce met his true opposite, and thus he sought out and trained the Joker, teaching him how to create multiple distinct backup personalities. The Clown is your standard Joker. He's jovial but evil. The Demon is just that raw, unholy wickedness. And finally, there's the Cold Death, a calm and collected Joker. Something that's interesting to note, though, is that Capito said that if he believed in heaven and hell, that he could absolutely believe that the Demon had existed for millennia, which, when combined with the slicked-back hairstyle, seems to be a reference to Scott Snyder's Batman run, where he was playing around with the idea of Joker actually being an immortal god. Because comics. Honestly, I am satisfied with this 3 personalities angle because I absolutely hate the idea of there physically being 3 Jokers all running around, because it doesn't make the character more interesting. It just makes him way more convoluted and hard to follow. At the end of the day, I'm just glad that this whole mess is finally over with and we can move the hell on. But I made a theory video about 8 years ago about how the comedian from Watchmen was going to be revealed as one of the 3 Jokers, and you better believe that I lost my shit when I read Batman 3 Jokers and found out that one of them is labeled the comedian. Yes, I was totally wrong with the theory, but I'm willing to take that as a partial win. But anyway, guys, I hope you learned at least a little something new and enjoyed this video, and hopefully I'll see you next time.